You wake to the hiss of whispers sliding through stone corridors, clinging like damp smoke to the marble walls. Servants bow as you pass, but their silence feels heavy, unnatural. Their eyes do not meet yours, and still you feel their gaze burn at the back of your skull. Something unspoken moves between them, weaving its way through the palace like a hidden serpent. At night you hear it in the rustle of tapestries, in the shuffle of slippered feet retreating down hallways. A rumor, your rumor, though never yet named aloud. A rumor that could shatter your crown, your name, your very bloodline. You breathe it in with the torch smoke, with the incense curling in the chapel, with the wine that no longer tastes sweet. Your throne feels colder now. The gold beneath your hand is no longer warm with triumph, but heavy with suspicion. For in every chamber, behind every curtain, in every breath of the courtiers, lies the question, what does the king desire most? You know the answer, and you know the answer is forbidden. The walls lean closer when you close your eyes. They know, they have seen, they are listening. The palace itself has become your confessor, and it will not absolve you. She enters the hall as though light bends toward her, a sweep of silk across stone, the hush of her attendants at her back, and still she seems alone, untouchable, set apart by blood and by something deeper. Your sister, your mirror, your curse. You feel her before you see her. The air changes, the weight in your chest tightens, as if the world itself holds its breath when she passes. Her eyes, dark as midnight water, never linger long enough. Yet in the sliver of a glance, you feel eternity bloom and collapse. She does not speak to you more than custom demands, and yet every syllable carries heat, carries danger, carries the knife edge of longing you are forbidden to name. Her laughter cuts sharper than any blade. When she speaks to others, your heart becomes a clenched fist, each word she gives away wounding you. But when her hand brushes yours in passing, when her voice softens with an unguarded tenderness, you know what hell tastes like, for the sweetness you crave burns your mouth with fire. You remember the first time you noticed. Perhaps it was the way candlelight wrapped itself around her neck, gilding the hollow of her throat. Perhaps it was when she reached for a chalice and her fingers, slender and pale, lingered too close to yours. Perhaps it was always there, waiting for your crown to weigh heavy enough, waiting for loneliness to carve open a place where her shadow could grow. Desire, once born, does not sleep. It lives in the marrow, in the breath, in the secret ache between one heartbeat and the next. And now it coils around you like smoke, whispering promises that both terrify and console. At feasts, you force yourself to look away, to speak to others, to toast victories that feel hollow without her gaze upon you. But then you find her watching, her lips curved in a smile too subtle for anyone else to notice. And you wonder, does she know? Does she feel the same fire smoldering beneath the skin? Your kingdom chants your name in triumph, yet all you can hear is her silence. The priests bless your reign, yet their prayers dissolve when you kneel in the chapel and see her shadow beside yours. Every forbidden thought carves itself deeper, and still you cannot turn away. And the more you try to bury it, the more it grows, until the very air between you is thick with something unspeakable. The nights are the worst. Alone, the candles burning low. You see her everywhere, in the carved patterns of the ceiling, in the drift of silk at your chamber door, in the echo of laughter that fades into the corridors. You dream of her, though you beg yourself not. You wake with her name caught between your teeth. Your bed, vast and empty, feels colder than stone. The women who share it cannot warm you, for they are not her. They are pale imitations, distractions that shame you the moment their breath touches your skin. And when dawn comes, when you see her again at court, fresh and radiant, as if untouched by the torment that consumes you, you realize you are undone. She is the wound you will never heal, the sister who has become the forbidden scripture of your soul. At times you convince yourself it is divine. The gods themselves have bound your fates together, have written this torment in the stars. Why else would her presence drown out every other sound, every other face, every other need? But you know better. You know this is not holiness but hunger, not divine will, but human weakness. A weakness that drips like poison into every decision, every judgment, every breath. And still, you cling to it. Because without her, the throne is nothing but cold metal and silence. Because without her, you are no king at all. Only a man, stripped and desperate, clutching shadows. You should turn away. You should bury it, strangle it, confess it, cleanse it. But instead you carry it like a relic, secret and sacred, pressed against your heart. The courtiers bow. The generals kneel. The kingdom obeys, but your desire does not. And you begin to realize it never will. She is the only truth that remains. And every step she takes through the palace is a temptation you cannot escape. The crown presses heavy on your brow, but it is not the gold that burdens you. It is blood, the blood you share with her, the bond that chains you in duty even as it tempts you towards sin. Kings may take what they wish, wives, concubines, servants, even children of their enemies, but not this, never this. Yet the desire gnaws at you. It wears at your resolve the way water wears stone. Each passing day is another crack, another fracture in the wall you built between longing and action. You tell yourself that silence is enough, that you can hold this secret within and carry it to your grave. But secrets are never still. They writhe, they whisper, they escape through the smallest gaps. The court begins to notice. Not openly, not yet. But you see it in the way their eyes shift when she enters the room, in the way conversations falter when the two of you stand too near. The weight of suspicion gathers like storm clouds above the palace. Every smile becomes a mask, every bow an accusation disguised as loyalty. Even the priests sense it. They preach sermons edged with warning, stories of kings destroyed by lust, of kingdoms swallowed in fire when rulers defied divine law. Their eyes find yours too often as they speak. Their words, though meant for the congregation, feel sharpened for your flesh alone. Still, you cannot look away from her. You try to drown it in other pleasures. Nights filled with wine, with music, with women who trace your skin with eager hands. But their touch feels hollow, their laughter thin. You leave them before dawn, rising to walk the corridors, as though the shadows themselves might soothe you. But always you end in the same place, her chamber door, silent, watching the torchlight flicker across the carved wood, hearing her soft laughter within, the murmur of her ladies, the closing of shutters against the night air. You stand there like a thief in your own palace, aching for what you cannot claim. The irony is cruel. You are king, yet powerless. You command armies, yet cannot master your own heart. You rule over men, yet your desire rules you. And the more you fight it, the more it deepens. Rumors take shape. They begin as whispers, nothing more than a flutter of sound behind a fan, a cough meant to disguise a dangerous word. But whispers grow. They crawl into the kitchens, into the guardrooms, into the market street. Servants carry them, merchants trade them, courtiers savor them like forbidden fruit. By the time they reach your ears, the rumors are no longer shadows. They are knives. They say you love her. They say your sister carries your gaze wherever she goes. They say the kingdom trembles not from foreign threat, but from the corruption of its throne. And though you rage, though you punish those who speak too freely, the truth cannot be silenced. Because the truth does not live in words. It lives in glances, in silences, in the way your breath stills when she enters a room. The truth is visible to anyone who dares to see. Your advisors grow restless. Some plead for marriage alliances, to bind your sister to a foreign prince, to place her beyond your reach and shield the crown from scandal. Others warn against it, fearing that such a union would fracture your fragile control, that removing her from your side might expose you more than her presence ever could. You listen, but the words are meaningless. The thought of her leaving feels like death itself. You would rather burn your kingdom to ashes than see her hand given to another. And so you delay. You invent reasons. You claim politics, strategy, divine timing, anything to keep her near, to keep her bound within the same walls that bind you. But every delay tightens the noose. Every excuse deepens suspicion. And still, you cannot let her go. At night, you wonder what she knows. Does she hear the whispers, Does she see the hunger in your gaze? Does she sense the war raging in your chest? There are moments, brief, dangerous moments, when her eyes soften, when her smile lingers too long, when her hand trembles against yours, and you wonder if she too feels the weight of blood pressing down, crushing her between loyalty and desire. But you dare not ask. For to ask would be to confess, and confession in your world is ruin. So you carry the burden in silence, and the silence becomes unbearable. The weight of blood is heavier than any crown, and you know it is only a matter of time before it breaks you. The night of betrayal arrives without warning, though in truth, it has been circling you for years. The air itself feels charged, as though the gods have conspired to close every escape, to leave you with no path but the one you fear most. The feast is over, the torches sputter, the court drifts into drunken slumber, and she, your sister, lingers. The corridors are hushed, marble floors echo only your footsteps and hers, a rhythm that binds you even as you try to resist it. She turns, candlelight carving gold into her face, and in her eyes you see not innocence but knowledge. She knows. She has always known. Her voice is soft, hardly more than a breath. She asks why you wander these halls alone. The words are harmless, but the silence between them is not. You answer without thought, your voice lower than it should be, carrying a weight you no longer attempt to hide. And then it happens. A touch, no different from 100 other touches before. A brush of fingers, a pause too long. Yet now, in this silence, it becomes something else. The air thickens. The world narrows. You feel the palace itself lean closer, listening, holding its breath with you. You know you should step away. You know the abyss yawns beneath your feet, but you do not move. And when she does not pull back, when her gaze does not waver, the kiss is not gentle. It is desperate, broken, carved from years of denial. Her breath burns against yours. Her hands tremble, as though she too knows the weight of what you have done. And still, neither of you stop. The chambers around you seem alive, the walls shuddering with memory, the tapestries fluttering as though they wish to turn away. Servants may be awake, guards may be near, yet none of that matters now. In that moment there is only the hunger that has rotted your soul, given flesh and breath at last. The blood that binds you makes every touch sharper, every gasp heavier, for this is not love as poets sing of it. This is not union blessed by gods. This is fire that consumes, that devours, that leaves only ash. And yet you cannot let go. The days after are worse than the night itself. You thought fulfillment would free you, that desire, spent, would turn to dust. But instead it grows stronger, more insistent. Now that you have tasted, you cannot deny. The court feels smaller, the throne colder, the prayers emptier. Only in her presence do you feel alive. And even that aliveness is laced with fear. Servants notice the way she lingers near your chambers. Guards whisper about the soft footsteps they hear in the night. The palace becomes a cage of eyes, watching, waiting, ready to strike. And strike they do. One evening, as you sit beside her at the feast, a cup slips from a servant's hand. Wine spills across the floor like blood. Silence falls. Eyes shift, and in that silence you hear it. The word hissed like venom. Sister. The rumor has become declaration. The courtiers' faces are masks of obedience, yet behind them you see judgment, horror, satisfaction. Some look away, unwilling to meet your gaze. Others stare too long, daring you to deny what they already know. You feel the crown slip upon your head. Not in truth, not yet, but in spirit, for a king who cannot command respect is no king at all. Your advisors confront you in private. Some beg you to repent, to banish her, to cloak your sin in exile and silence. Others sharpen their daggers with words, reminding you that kings who defy divine law do not reign long. Even the priests come, cloaked in incense and trembling righteousness. They speak of curses, of kingdoms undone by lust, the fire raining from the heavens to cleanse the land. Their eyes pierce yours, demanding confession, but you confess nothing. You sit in silence, your jaw tight, your heart defiant. For though you know they are right, though you know the path you tread leads only to ruin, you cannot abandon her. Not now. Not after the breaking point has passed. You would rather fall as a sinner than reign as a hollow man. But the fall is not slow. It is swift, brutal, and unstoppable. The servant betrays you. Perhaps a glance caught in the wrong moment. Perhaps the sight of her leaving your chamber before dawn. Perhaps only envy, sharpened into treachery. Whatever the reason, the truth spills into the open, no longer whispers but shouts, no longer rumor but fact. And once truth leaves its cage, it cannot be imprisoned again. The kingdom knows, and the kingdom will never forgive. The breaking point has come and gone, and nothing will ever be the same. The throne you once ruled from now feels like an execution block. You sit upon it, cloaked in jewels, but the glittering weight is nothing more than shackles polished to hide their purpose. The courtiers bow, their voices echoing the words of loyalty. Yet their eyes strip you bare. They know, everyone knows, and knowledge is a blade more dangerous than steel. Your sister is veiled now, forced to retreat behind curtains and guards, as if distance could erase what has already been burned into memory. But even veils cannot conceal her. Every absence is louder than her presence once was. Every silence filled with her ghost. The court pretends piety, but their whispers grow bold. They do not fear you anymore. The king who breaks divine law loses not only God's blessing but the awe of men. You feel it in the air of the council chamber. Advisors speak more sharply, challenge you with words they once would have swallowed. Their loyalty bends, their fear thins, and their ambition sharpens like a dagger pressed against your back. The kingdom you command trembles not because of foreign threat, but because its king has become scandal, made flesh. The priests move next. Their sermons thunder through the cathedral walls, their voices echoing into every market and every alley. They do not name you, not yet, but their warnings leave no room for doubt. A ruler who sins against blood, sins against the divine. The people listen, the people murmur, and murmur becomes unrest. The crown is still yours, but it no longer feels secure. It sits crooked, fragile, as if one gust of wind might send it tumbling into the dust. You cling to her in secret, the only warmth left in a world turned cold. The chambers that once echoed with celebration now harbor whispers of treason. You meet her in shadows, not out of choice, but necessity, knowing each meeting is another nail hammered into the coffin of your reign. Her touch is different now, not carefree, not unknowing, but heavy with the same dread that poisons you. She trembles when you draw her near, not because she resists, but because she too sees the flames licking at the edge of the kingdom. She too knows this cannot last. And yet, she does not leave you. Perhaps love holds her, perhaps fear, perhaps the same twisted bond that has bound you since birth, a knot tied so tightly it cannot be undone. But the bond is both chain and curse. When punishment comes, it comes dressed in velvet. Your enemies do not strike with swords. Not yet. They strike with words, with decrees, with ceremonies carved from hypocrisy. The council declares that your sister must be removed from court, for her own protection, they claim. Protection from whom? From you. But they do not say it aloud. She is led away, not as a criminal, but as a sacrifice. Her chambers emptied, her attendants scattered, her laughter erased from the halls. You watch her go, unable to protest without confirming every suspicion. You remain silent, a king gagged by his own shame. And when the doors close behind her, when the echo of her footsteps fades, you feel the true weight of the chains. For what is a crown worth, when the only soul you desire has been torn from your side? Exile follows quickly. She is sent to a distant estate, cloaked in secrecy, guarded as though she were both treasure and threat. You are forbidden to visit, though no one dares speak the word forbidden to your face. Still, the meaning is clear. You write letters you never send. You imagine her standing at the balcony, staring into fields that are not hers, dreaming of corridors you once walked together. You wonder if she hates you now, if she curses your weakness, if she longs for freedom from the bond that ruined you both. The kingdom breathes easier in her absence. The markets grow louder, the sermons soften, the courtiers smile again, but their smiles are poisoned, for they know the wound has not healed, it has only been hidden. And you, bound to your throne, feel the bars close around you. The crown has become a prison, and you are its prisoner. Night after night, you wander the same cold corridors. Every corner reminds you of her, every shadow whispers her name. You tell yourself that kings are remembered for conquest, for treaties, for the legacies they carve into stone. But deep inside, you know your legacy has already been written. You are not the king who built, nor the king who conquered. You are the king who desired his own sister, and no crown, no army, no prayer can unmake that truth. The silence after her exile is heavier than the scandal itself. The palace no longer breathes with whispers, but with an emptiness more suffocating. The courtiers return to their games, their gossip shifting to new prey, yet you feel their glances cling to you still. Every smile hides memory, every bow carries judgment. They may no longer speak it, but you know what name they have carved upon you. The throne room feels vast and hollow, where once her presence lit the chamber like dawn, breaking through stained glass. There is now only shadow. Ministers drone on about taxes, about roads, about alliances, but their words are ashes on your tongue. You nod, you sign, you decree, but your thoughts wander elsewhere, toward the estate where she now walks in gardens that are not yours, toward nights you will never reclaim. The kingdom prospers without her, but you do not. Victory tastes of dust. Feasts ring hollow. Even triumph in war cannot mask the emptiness gnawing at your chest. For what is conquest when the heart remains defeated? Letters come sometimes distant, carefully crafted, bearing her hand, but not her soul. They are stripped of warmth, painted in courtesy and obedience, written for the eyes of those who monitor them. Yet between the lines you search for traces of her, the curve of a phrase, the shadow of longing, the hint of despair. You burn them after reading, not from anger, but from fear. Fear that someone might see, might know, might drag her name once more into fire. Her silence becomes her protection, and her absence becomes your punishment. Nights stretch long. Wine dulls the ache, but never silences it. Women come and go, but their faces fade before dawn. They cannot compete with memory, with the ghost who still walks beside you even when you lie alone. The people forget. Time smooths, scandal into story, story into legend, legend into something whispered only in dark corners. Children born in these years grow up not knowing, not caring. But the courtiers remember, the priests remember, you remember, and the forgetting cuts deeper than the whispers once did. For it means she is erased from the present, buried alive in silence. You alone keep her alive in memory, and that memory becomes both comfort and torment. You think often of the night you broke, the moment when silence became touch, when longing became fire. You replay it endlessly, both cursing and cherishing it. If you had turned away, perhaps you would still have her laughter beside you, still have a throne unbroken, but to turn away would have been to deny the only truth you ever felt. And so you cling to the ruin, because it is all you have left of her. The seasons pass. Winter buries the palace in snow. Spring resurrects the gardens, summer burns the fields, autumn scatters the leaves, and still, the emptiness endures. With each year your body grows heavier, your face more lined, your crown more hollow. But the wound never closes. Your legacy begins to take shape in the hands of scribes and poets. They speak of your reign with cautious praise, but behind every word lies the shadow of scandal. You sense it in the way they pause before speaking your name, in the way they choose their phrases with trembling care. They will not remember your laws, your victories, your counsels. They will remember the sin, and so will you. Sometimes, late at night, you imagine her return. You picture her walking once more through the palace corridors, silk trailing across stone, eyes meeting yours in that silence only you two ever understood. But dreams end at dawn, and the corridors remain empty. You wonder if she thinks of you, if the same ghosts haunt her nights, if her steps falter when she remembers, or perhaps she has freed herself, cast off the weight of blood and desire, and lives unburdened in her exile. Perhaps she hates you, perhaps she pities you, perhaps she has forgotten. That thought wounds more deeply than any dagger. The aftermath is not fire, nor rebellion, nor death. It is something colder. It is the slow, suffocating certainty that you will live on, crowned, obeyed, remembered, and yet always empty. You desired her. You betrayed blood, crown, and God. And though the kingdom continues, though the world forgets, the shadow never lifts. For even when silence swallows your name, the truth will remain etched upon your soul. And the truth is heavier than any crown. Time does not heal this wound. It calcifies it. Years gather like dust across your reign, yet still the story clings. Courtiers grow old, priests are buried, servants replaced, but whispers have their own kind of immortality. They pass from one mouth to another, from one century to the next, wearing new shapes, new tongues, but always the same poison at their core. Your kingdom prospers, yet your name does not. You win battles, raise monuments, fill the coffers of the state, but history is not merciful. History chooses what to remember, and it does not choose kindly. The chronicles note your victories, yes, but always with a shadowed line, a reminder that your reign was tainted. They speak of the sister you loved, not as blood, but as hunger. They speak of a bond turned curse, of desire that blackened a crown. And as your hair whitens, as your hands tremble when they once commanded swords, you realize the truth you always feared. You will not be remembered for what you built. You will be remembered for what you broke. At night, the palace still whispers. You walk the same corridors where your youth bled into sin, and though the torches flicker the same way, though the stones hold the same cold, you are no longer the man you once were, yet she remains, always, in memory, in shadow, in the echo of your own heartbeat. You feel her presence in empty chambers, in the hush of silk against your imagination, in the faint scent of perfume carried by drafts of air. She is gone, but she never left. She has become part of the palace itself, haunting you as surely as the gods themselves. And in those moments you almost welcome it, for what is a haunting if not a kind of companionship? When death approaches, you do not fear it. You have lived long with chains heavier than any grave. What terrifies you is legacy, the thought of how your name will be carried when your voice no longer can defend it. You know how they will speak of you, not as king, not as conqueror, not as ruler, but as sinner. You will be a warning whispered to hares. Do not be like him. You will be a sermon to children. Desire unchecked destroys. You will be a ghost story told in corridors. He wanted his sister, and the crown crumbled around him. And so it is. The scribes write their scrolls. The priests craft their sermons. The people share their tales. And the truth twists into legend, and legend into myth. But at its heart, the seed remains unchanged. You, the king who desired his own sister, that is the name carved into history's stone. That is the shadow that follows you beyond death. Now, as the last candles burn low, as the final breaths of your reign slip into silence, you accept it. You no longer fight the story, because the story has already won. And perhaps this is fitting. Perhaps every crown hides a secret. Every throne drips with sin. Every ruler carries a hunger they cannot confess. Yours was simply too dark to bury, too heavy to hide. And so you will be remembered not for gold, not for marble, not for conquest, but for desire, forbidden, ruinous, eternal. If you wish to keep wandering through the darkest corridors of our past, stay close. Subscribe, and I will guide you deeper into the shadows of history.